Hi, I'm Tim with 30 Days of Awakening. This is my channel, Selfless Awakening, where I like to ground all of this spiritual stuff. I have a live Instagram video that I'm doing right now, and people may chime in and have comments, and so I'll be going back and forth as I talk about this topic. What I'm doing with this series is each morning I wake up and I get quiet and I ask, in my deep meditation, I ask, intuitive guidance, universe, what can I say to be of service to others, to assist the collective awakening, the collective consciousness that's evolving that I see happening everywhere. So that's what this is all about. And this is day 8. I've gotten past the weak point, 1 weak point, and I can say this has been really fulfilling for me. I know that when I get to talk about the universe, hi Leslie, when I get to talk about mindfulness, the universe, how to be happier, how to go next level, being a human being, it just gets me so excited, and I'm thankful. I know the intuitive guidance that was telling me to do this 30-day series was telling me to do it for me, and I'm so grateful for that. And I'm so thankful that other people are commenting and responding and enjoying these videos as well. So here we go. Hello, hi Carrie, how are you? Today, here's the topic. Here's what came to me as I was meditating. This idea, the thing I want to talk about, we've been kind of, the last couple days, it's been pretty zoomed out as far as the topics have been, you are not your personality, you're not your body, you are the non-stop awareness thing that's always there, that's always peaceful, that's always present. I've been doing a lot, we've been going deep a lot, we've been zooming out a lot. And today I wanted to zoom in a little bit and get into some practices that can be of service in the world of form, okay? So this practice that I'm going to talk about today is one of the most powerful practices to shifting from something that's shifting your perception of something that's bothering you to seeing it as something that's helping you, to seeing it as something that is perfectly supposed to be happening. Okay? So this is the idea. This is about a topic or language that's used to talk about this lots of times in the mindfulness, self-help, spiritual community is the word reframing. You learn how to reframe something that you've been looking at one way and reframe it and look at it a different way. And it's in this reframing or this shifting of perception that you can take something that you think is horrible and see that it's awesome or see that it's beautiful. And so I want to talk about that a little bit, okay? And I'm going to share a personal story that happened over the last 2 days so I can sort of demonstrate how I use this practice, okay? So here we go. I'm going to just tell you the example in my life of how I just reframed something. I have, as far as my work, my business, things like that, I'm a vocal instructor, and I have a school for singing, and I have instructors that I work with who are teaching the method I created, and we're expanding, and things are so exciting with all of that. And so one thing that I was thinking of doing was reaching out to vocal groups, to schools, and seeing if they'd like us to come in and work with the group. And then, this would be a good way for business, for vocal programs to learn about what we do. And so this has been something very real world, zoomed in, that I've been, one of the assistants that I work with, she's been reaching out and corresponding with people. And I had a situation where I had something come up that was bothering me recently. It came up yesterday. I had what I call them disturbances in the force, where there's something I can just feel energetically there was a little resistance. And what happened was, one of the school teachers in the area that I've corresponded with, that we've collaborated on things to some degree in the past, I reached out to this teacher to say, hey, would you like us to come in to do a master class? And this teacher responded, oh, that sounds interesting. What would you have in mind? Well, let's do this, let's do that. Okay, great. And then I could just feel vibrationally something was a little, like, maybe wasn't lining up with her and I. And then I never heard back from this teacher about scheduling a master class with her for her program, and we're almost to the end of the school year where this would be scheduled. And I noticed a little bit of rejection come up in me. I had this, the voice in my head was like, well, why didn't she want to reach out to you? Is she mad at you, or does she not think you're good enough, or the voice in my head was bruised. The egoic structure in my head was sad that I was rejected by this teacher to come in and work on the program. So I could feel that happened. I could feel it in my awareness that the personality Tim felt a little wounded by rejection of this person I'd worked with before not deciding to want to work with me. And I could feel that come up, and there was a part of me that was like, the voice in the head was like, what the hell? Like, this is such flaky behavior, it's like had a little story. And then I could feel, I've got something to look at here. So here's how I reframed that. This is exactly what I did. I felt the disturbance, and then what I did was I went outside and I meditated, and I looked at it, and I asked the universe, I said, what's bothering me right now? And then the voice in the head went off, well, you were supposed to, blah, blah, blah. Why didn't she email? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, is there something wrong with you? And then the voice in my head went to another level, and I saw another deeper level of egoic bruising in that, and this is getting even a little more personal, and I feel it's helpful to share personal stuff around this stuff. Having now been divorced after a few years, there's been this little thing in the back of Tim's mind, in the back of my mind, that my ex is also a performer, and she lives in this community, and there's a voice in the back of my head that was saying that all of the musical people in this town don't like me anymore because they know my ex and they sided with her on the divorce stuff, and so therefore every time I reach out to anyone in the community about musical things, I get rejected because I was the bad guy in the divorce or something. That's where the voice in my head went as I went outside and I asked universe, intuitive guidance, what's bothering me? And that's what came up, and I went, okay, that's what's bothering me right now. And then I asked myself, is that true? Is it really true that the musical community in this town, which is a very vibrant musical Broadway community, a lot of Broadway people, is it true that they are rejecting me? Or is this just some projection of a misperception from my egoic construct, right? And this is what I did. I started looking at this. I was like, wow. Like, and you see this pattern, this people don't want to work with me, underlying fear program. If I allow it to just run, it's going to manifest experiences. It's actually going to manifest exactly what it's afraid of. So how did I reframe it? What I did, I first asked the universe what was bothering me, and all of this rejection stuff came up, and I was like, okay, great. So I looked at it, and then after I heard the voice say what was bothering me, what was the disturbance in the force, then I asked the universe, I said, well, what can I learn from this right now? What can I learn from this bruise, or whatever you want to call it, to my ego that I felt by being rejected by this teacher? And then I discovered that inside of the fear always talks. Our fear is constantly looking for a place to go, and the fear inside of me in that moment was playing out the story that I'm not good enough, which is a lot of times where fear goes. We're not enough. We're not good enough. I'm a big hack, I don't know what I'm talking about. This kind of, that was where the fear went. And so I asked the universe, what can I learn from this fear? Well, I can learn that fear is, like, the biggest thing is you learn that fear is trying to keep you from trying new things. Like, fear tries to keep you from experimenting out. There was something inside of me before I reached out that could feel a little resistance when I reached out to this teacher. And it's very interesting that this whole thing was about looking at fear and looking at this sense of being enough, of being good enough, right? And also this whole thing with the town of performers. Like, I was still, what the universe is teaching me is that I'm still carrying programming left over, feeling guilt about the divorce. Like, that's actually what was an underlying thing to look at. It was like, it was all about releasing myself from this idea that I'm a bad person because I got a divorce or something. Like, that was what all of this was tied up in that. And so what the universe has for me to learn is to learn that that's actually not true, and learn that that's one of the ways that the mind tries to keep you controlled and keep you in a box and keep you from trying new things. It's like it keeps throwing these fearful thoughts up, these like things. And so this is where work like doing the Byron Katie, she calls it the work, which is where you go in and you question the truth of these limitations, these things, these beliefs that you're holding on to, which are really thoughts that are just repeating in your mind, these beliefs that you're holding on to that unexamined, they run the show. And if you, in your spiritual practice, are willing to look at everything that comes up as a tool to teach you, then what happens is the things that come up that bother you become things to surface, to learn from, to heal. So the universe was really telling me that there's still a little bit of fear in me. There's still some fear of what would happen if, what if, just fear I'm not good enough, fear I don't know what I'm doing, fear that this, that no one wants to work with me, fear that I'm doing these crazy videos online and everybody thinks I'm crazy now. Like, that's what the fear likes to do. It likes to try to keep you from trying cool shit, And so the universe got to show me that really clearly, super clearly. And I was like, look at the fear, look at what I'm afraid of. And then the next step, this is where the reframing gets so powerful. The next step for it is like, okay, I've learned from it. I've learned that there's still some routed guilt around the divorce. I've learned that there's still some tendencies at times for Tim to feel that he's not good enough. Okay, great. I see that. Thank you, universe, for showing me that. I see that those are things that I can release. Now what? Once you know that, once the universe shows you something by something coming up that's bothering you, like, what's the next step? So here's the next step. This is in the actual process of taking that thinking, which had its own momentum. It was, from a neurological standpoint, building neurons and pathways and hardening itself into a way of thinking. Like, this is where reframing or shifting perspective is so powerful. You start building a new perception of the situation. Here's how you do it. Here's how I do it. I start coming up with ways that I start coming up with different ways to look at the situation. For instance, and this is one of the biggest ways to do it, if something comes up that's bothering you, you can look at it from a negative, like, this is something that I'm losing, or you can look at it from the other side of, this is something I'm gaining. And here's how I would do that in this situation. So the idea was we were going to go into the school to do some master classes. And some of the thoughts in my mind were like, well, how could this be a good thing? How could this, to reframe it, how could this seemingly bad situation to my ego become a positive situation. And one of the ways I do that is by thinking about every time in my life that something has come up that's been bothering me, that's been, I see your comment, Leslie. Thank you. I'm a good crazy. I appreciate that. Every time that I feel something's coming up that has bothered me in the past, or something's happened to me in the past that feels bad. I'm doing a lot of this today. Happened to me in the past that's bad. I can tell you how that thing shifted me onto this path I'm on now, which is pretty awesome. And let me give you an example of that. I injured my arm painting this house crazily back in the day. And my hand hasn't 100% come back yet. It gets better and better every day. But things like typing, doing a lot of emailing, doing a lot of written work on the computer burns my hand out. And these videos that I'm doing right now, they could have easily been me writing a book. But because of this limitation, I shifted my whole focus of sharing this information to a more video-based platform as opposed to writing. Which, if as I look back on that now, it's like, that's perfect. Like, it makes perfect sense. Like, what a beautiful shift. I could have spent months and months writing, and the truth is, I do enjoy writing, but I love connecting with people. I love talking. I know that some of my gifts of this world are, I have an open throat chakra. I'm a voice teacher. I can communicate. I'm a good communicator. And so I realize, like, in this modality, and not saying I'm limited to not feeling like I'm a good writer too, but it's perfect that this injury of this arm took me away from writing, which brought me on a path to be doing these videos. It's like, oh my God, that's beautiful. And now my life has a whole different course because of what seemed like a horrible thing, this injury to my hand, actually put me on a path to super beautiful stuff. So it's like, how can we say this injury was negative when so much beauty has come out that's positive on the other side of it? So coming from this place of there is no negative or positive, there's only situations that come up that we can learn from. Coming from this angle, everything's awesome, everything's perfect. And you may even go so far as to say things that when something comes up that's bothering you, it's not only not a bad thing, but it's also it's an especially beautiful thing because you're about to pivot. And as soon as you pivot to a new perspective on that situation, you're about to be freed of whatever was bothering you. And so what I started to think about with this situation where this woman wasn't allowing me to come teach our program at her school was that I realized, I started saying things to myself like, what if intuitive guidance is saying don't go into this situation because it wasn't the right place for your business right now? What if this wasn't going to gel if you went in there? What if things could, it's like I started to see it like, the universe didn't want me to be in that situation. It wasn't a matter of being rejected. It was a matter of the universe saying, not here. Don't put your focus here, Tim. Put your focus here. Don't put your focus here, put it there. There's another place for your energy, for your business focus to be than doing that. And this is where it comes into listening to the universe, of surrendering, of looking at the path of least resistance, of saying, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do this. And life is saying, no, that's not going to work. But life says, but over here, it's going to flow for you. And so what I started to feel was like, I can see how the universe maybe doesn't want me to go into that school right now. Maybe our program wasn't quite ready yet. Maybe there's some energy with the teacher where she's, not comfortable having other vocal programs come in. Maybe there's lots of other things happening in the universe that are orchestrating the way things are playing out that I don't understand, and I'm okay with not understanding. And so I looked at it like, one of the easiest ways for me to reframe and shift my perspective was just to see, I feel intuitive guidance is telling me the universe isn't pulling me in that direction anymore. It's like I started to see it wasn't about the rejection, it was about focus. And here's a perfect example just to hammer home that point, in very personal into my personal life. A few years ago, with the business, so the singing mastery, the vocal method I've created in the voice studio, when I first moved into this house where teaching's all happening all the time, I was in a very fearful place that I could actually keep this afloat, that even I was keeping this afloat. See how much ego is involved in that I'm doing this, you know? I had so much fear about my ability to run this business at this bigger level, this next level, that I worked frantically. I was working 7 days a week. Every minute that I could think about it, I was working 7 days a week, just nonstop working. I was designing all of these classes. I was overextending myself. I was pushing. And I was running myself into the ground. And actually, which is very interesting, the law of reversed effort, now here 3 years later, I do the opposite of pushing and we grow more. We grow more. From that time a few years ago, when I was working 7 days a week, I was trying to run like 3 or 4 different classes with 30 people in them. And we were like, 30 in each class, and we're running all these things, and I'm trying to generate all this business. I'm pushing. The year that I stopped pushing and I cut back a day of client contact and I canceled all of those classes, the year that I did that, the business grew 20%. So then I did another experiment of cutting back even more and stopping pushing and forcing in the universe and like fear, push from fear. I cut back even more. I cut back. Now I'm working 2 less days a week with clients, and our business grew another 20%. Isn't that interesting, right? So from that place, that fearful place, that egoic place that I was pushing and I was afraid, when I actually saw that was a pattern I was running, and I started to realize, wait, this is about me getting to a place of peace in my life, no matter what my external circumstance is, and focus on my internal well-being, focus on a peaceful existence, a playful existence, an excited existence, guiding my thoughts and places and seeing things from a place of beauty, from a place of love. When I shifted into that place, I started, it's kind of magical. What happened was I stopped forcing from ego and I started following intuitive guidance. And what I found is that it's not about trying 1,000 different things frantically to get yourself there to the next level of any business. It's about tapping into the right information. It's like you only need a few great ideas to come into your mind, and then know that they're great ideas and execute them to be successful. A lot of times we misperceive success by it's like, you got to work so hard, you got to work hard, you got to work hard, you got to... That's not how it works. In my experience, at least a case study of my business, the more that I tap into intuitive guidance and get centered and get higher vibrating, and look at my life from a different lens, look at my life from a lens of success, from a lens of beauty, from a lens of gratitude, everything flows. And as we talk about how to deal with, as I come back around now to this idea of dealing with and tending to the things that surface inside of you and what to do with them, it's really like, let me see if I can get as specific in steps that I would use as possible. It's like step 1, you notice there's a disturbance in the force. Noticing it. I got something to look at. Step 2, go find a quiet place. This is what I do. Find a still place. Become aware of myself as the awareness behind my thoughts, behind the emotion, my awareness, the energy field that's constantly here, that's consciousness. Become aware of myself as that. Sit there. Look at the thing that's bothering me. Just look at it. Allow the voice in the head to get it all out. Get it all out. Look at it. Ask the universe what it can learn from it. What can I learn from this universe? Then from there, it's the reframing. It's the shifting of perspective. It's seeing the situation differently. It's actually putting your creative mind on the task of, how can this situation actually be of service to me? How can this situation actually be good for me? And, for instance, this teacher not wanting to do the master class, it very well could have been that had we done it, could have been a disaster. It could have been not the right place for the universe for us to be. And I completely honor that. Like, one of the principles that I follow so deeply now in my life is this idea of the path of least resistance. Don't force. I've spent lots of time in my life pushing and pushing and pushing when I was younger. And I'll have to say, the universe doesn't respond well to that. It pushes back. The secret is to flow, to listen, to try things, do experiments, walk through your fear, put it out there, and then go back and listen, right? So I'm going to see some comments here. Let's see. One friend, Leslie, said, gotta go, good talk. See you later. Your thoughts are not facts. Yes, you get to believe whatever you want. That's beautiful. Your thoughts are not facts. You get to believe whatever you want. I like to choose the thoughts that make me feel better. I love you. Okay, yes. So that's great. Yeah. So that's one of the ways we reframe, is in the choice of our thoughts. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. This idea of, when you look at a situation that came up that feels like a bad situation, get creative about how to make it look differently after you've learned from it. Now, here's the thing, though. This is where it gets tricky with the spiritual practice. A lot of times, and like Leslie's comment right there, like, your thoughts are not facts. You get to believe whatever you want. I agree with that, too. And also, you can't just not deal with the shit that comes up. Like, you have to look at it. You have to honestly look at it, or whatever that thing is that came up will keep running in the background. Whatever that thinking, that fear-based thinking, that lack-based thinking, that I'm not enough thinking, it will keep running in the background if you don't look at it. And this is where, in the mindfulness community, I feel it's very important to make the point of, it's not just about positive focus exclusively. It's about learning from what's coming up. It's learning from it's honoring whatever comes up, accepting it all, even though you may perceive it as negative or bad, allowing whatever comes up to come up, look at it, let it speak its voice, learn from it, let it talk. Don't diminish the talking, don't suppress the talking, don't shift too quickly away from something that's bothering you, because you can't learn from it. You can't really heal it. You can't give it space. Everything that comes up to be healed. And it comes up to be released from you, which then helps it release from the collective consciousness. If enough people step out of their fear is going to dissolve more and more, right? So nothing. I want to be very careful, because sometimes I feel it's easy to misinterpret teachers like Abraham Hicks in her focus of law of attraction, positive focus. Don't look here, don't look at the negative, look at the positive. Don't look at the negative, look at the positive. Like that, she's got a lot of energy like that, and that's where I feel where I'm not in alignment with that. I do believe there's a looking and a learning and then a shifting, but only after the looking and the learning has happened. Because if you don't, if I just were to take this situation that came up, and instead of saying, what do I have to look at here? What do I have to release here? What fearful patterns in me would cause me to be bothered by being rejected from someone? Like, what do I have to let go of? Where am I holding on that I can release? And if I'm not willing to actually look at that, and I just quickly shift to positive, like, oh, don't look, I'm happy, oh, I'm thankful. Like, if I do that, that thing's going to keep running, and another situation will come up, and the universe will say, hey, Tim, remember that feeling of lack that you felt, that feeling of not feeling good enough? Guess what? You're going to get to experience that on a bigger scale until you want to learn from it. And the universe in my experience, the universe has a funny way of doing that. It's like if something comes up and I don't look at it, it comes up again in a new situation, a little bigger. I don't look at it there, it comes up a little bigger. Like, the universe starts knocking on the door. You got stuff to heal. Here it is, look at it, right? And so it's super important to look. But the thing also is you can't dwell there. Like that energy of fear, of lack, of, the voice that may be having something to say about what is bothering you, it has momentum if you let it talk too much. Like if you tell your friend what's bothering you, then you call your mom and you tell her what's bothering you, and then you do a video about what's bothering you, then you do a post about what's bothering you, and then you do a journal about what's bothering you. Look at where your focus is. Your focus is manifesting more of that vibration that's bothering you. So you can't stay there either. You have to look at it, get in, and get out. And the way we get out is by the reframing, by gratitude for everything happening. It's like, I know that whenever something comes up that bothers me, that I release it, I know on the other side of it there's some breakthrough that's about to happen. I can feel that. It's happened enough times to me that I've learned that from the universe. And so that's how I look at things. And they don't feel, from the place where I am right now, it feels a lot like when things come up, very rarely will something bother me for a long time, because I don't have a lot of that kind of stuff can't come up in me anymore, at least as frequently, like what this story I was talking about earlier. I don't have those things come up as much anymore as they used to. And I think a part of it is because as soon as something bothers me, it feels rare enough that as soon as something bothers me, I become present to it. And then on one level, I feel the bother. And then on another level, I'm excited about, ooh, I got something to practice spirituality on. Like, ooh, I got a little disturbance here. And then as soon as I get excited about the thing, that I have something bothering me, it doesn't bother me anymore, which is really kind of funny. And I'd say that doesn't always happen. There's still some times where I do the process of I'll look at something and I'll, like with this situation of the thing I said that came up earlier, there was a little bit of releasing that happened when I became present to, when I became kind of excited about the idea of working on something. But I still felt a little residue of that energy. It wasn't until I actually sat down and looked at how the fear was playing into this disturbance that I felt the real shift. Because now I feel none of the energy of resistance in me at all to this situation. And I'm so thankful for that, and it's beautiful. And there's even more lessons I can feel to learn from this down the road, about rejection, about not being afraid to put it out there and take whatever happens no matter what, that kind of thing. So let me see if there's anything else to look at. Yes, Carrie, you said yes, let go the grip. Yes, letting go. Yes, needing to process it. Absolutely, yes. So these things need to process 100% when things come up that are bothering us, and that's beautiful. So it's allow things to process and then shift. Don't get stuck in the processing though. Okay? And don't shift too early either. All right. I think I've really talked this out. Yeah, so there we go. Day 8, how to shift any disturbance. What to do. Become present. Tap into your inner self. Become aware of yourself as non-physical. Let whatever's bothering you talk. Ask the universe what you can learn from it. And then reframe it by seeing it from a place of how it could be good for you as opposed to the negative. Okay? So that's what came to me this morning. Thank you, Carrie. Thanks for stopping by and for participating in the conversation. I appreciate it. Yes. Good to see you. I'll be on tomorrow. I'll post what time I'll be on tomorrow for day 9. I have no idea what it'll be about, but I have a couple ideas kicking around in my noggin. We'll see what's what. Okay? So sending you all good vibes. This video will be uploaded to the YouTube channel, Selfless Awakening. The link's in the description if you want to check it out there. And yeah, so reach out if I can be of service to you, or if there's any questions you have or comments or vibes you want to send my way. I love talking about this stuff. It feels so good, It feels so good to share, and I would love I just imagine like a world down the road where, imagine that this is what we use social media for now, is to talk about things we do to feel better. All of us, like that's the primary. Can you imagine if social media was primarily about the collective humanity sharing its tools to be happier and feel better? Like, wouldn't that be incredible? That's why I feel such a pull to this, is like, even if it's one person that I get to help, or no people. I know I'm the one person at least that gets helped by talking this out, because how it works is like it wires me better. Every time I talk about this stuff, it burns it further into my being and my practices. So, what a beautiful gift. It's all so paradoxically delicious, So, all right. On that note, I'm going to take off. So have a beautiful day.